Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Your Forest podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Greenlink Forestry. They do resource inventory analysis. We've been doing it for a while. Real good. And also it's brought to you by Damage Timber. Damage Timber is a Edmonton-based apparel company. They have clothing and they're trying to support conservation activities and conservation education and forest education and that kind of stuff through the sale of their clothing. So they have really high quality t-shirts and hats and toques. Really good stuff. Their emblem is a caribou hoof with some trees outlined in it. And they're like really reasonably priced. And they're trying to create they're going to create in the new year a land-based management scholarship from the sale of their clothing. So definitely check them out. They you just go to damagetimber.com and at checkout you guys can put in a code of YourForest10. You get 10% off. So you can support a good cause through the buying of t-shirts and hats and toques and that kind of stuff. So I know there's sweaters coming in the new year, and they're always expanding their menu, so it should be good. Today's podcast, I have Ryan He on. He's the president of the Association of Alberta Forest Management Professionals, which is the merging of two regulated bodies into one to try and make the forest management regulation easier and more streamlined. And he also works for DMI, a mill up in Peace River, and he's a forester. He's got an extensive background in forest management, and he's kind of done a lot of different things. He came on. We talked about him being the president and regulation in forestry and why forest management is important and why it's a worthwhile cause. Why you should, maybe join in, maybe get an education in forest management and see what it's all about. So, anyways, without further ado, here is Ryan and I. So, I got a really important question for you.
Shoot.
How's hunting season?
It was good. Yeah.
Start off on a light note, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No, it was good. I had the fortune this hunting season that my wife allowed me to go for 2 weeks. Went to Atlin, BC.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So I did that, and I went with my mom's boyfriend there, and we went up and through up the Alaska Highway. And we stayed at Liard Hot Springs. Okay. On the way there and on the way back. Yeah. Which is a trip in itself, right? It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And just phenomenal land. The fact of which, I travel the same highway kind of, 4 days a week kind of thing, right? Yeah. And you're kind of set in your own little world, and to actually go out and explore in these new ventures that Atlin is just like, just so open. The country's open and just phenomenal moose country. That's the first thing that you think of, right?
Yeah.
So,
there's lots of shrub and mountainous and
Yeah, we saw moose every day, saw caribou.
That's awesome. I've never seen a caribou. Like even like around here, growing up in Slave Lake, I've never seen a caribou. I've seen tracks. I've never seen one.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happened, but yeah, I guess the ghost of the boreal, right?
Yeah, that's right. But no, we were fortunate enough that we were able to harvest moose there. Got a bull moose. Yeah. It was a good trip, and we saw an absolute monster. Oh yeah. But he was probably 60 inches plus, like. Yeah, just on the hoof. He's a kilometer and a half away, right? Yeah. And we were calling for him. Yeah. And he just turned his head, and it was like 2 sheets of plywood. Just just looked at you. Like,
looks like an alien sometimes. Hey, when you see those things coming through the bush, you're like, "What is that? Are you sure that's not an elephant? I'm not sure."
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
But yeah, we took our time, and we tried to go for that particular moose there for the rest of the trip, and just ran out of time and out of luck. But it was good. It was good to at least get one for sure. So
nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, that ties right into I wanted to get talking about the forestry profession in general, right? Like just getting into why. My first real question was like, how did you get into it? Like, how did you? I'm always interested to see how people find that path, right? Yeah. Like for me, it's obvious. Like both my parents are foresters. It's kind of like 1 + 1 = 2, right? Like it's not. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. But other people, I'm not really sure. So like, well, yeah, what motivated you to go into forestry and environmental sciences?
Well, it's much like yourself, right? Like I'm a second generational forester.
Yeah.
My mom was with the Alberta government for 33 years.
Okay.
Something like that before she retired. And yeah, you know, it was pretty much you just grow up with it, right? Like I remember being 6, 7 years old when they created that E.S. Eustis demonstration forest just outside of Whitecourt there.
Okay. Yeah.
Where they have a collaborative learning forest where they have field tours and all that.
Okay.
And just tree planting, you know,
Right.
in the area kind of thing,
cool.
getting things prepped and all that good stuff. And, you know, I never really thought about it in through junior and senior high school and all that. And it was one of those things of which that, you know, you're 18 kind of thing. You're like, oh, what am I going to do kind of thing. And
I feel you.
you know,
I'm still asking myself that.
Yeah. And, you know, growing up in Whitecourt there, I actually worked for a local sawmill where I was on a cleanup crew there.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, one of our jobs there was to clean the snow off the scales, right, for log trucks and all that. So we did that and I remember asking the foreman there, I'm like, well, where do these trucks come from, right? You know, like, you know, you know,
like
I
magic,
see the product that comes, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, I don't know, it's somewhere out there, right? And,
It's like asking where your groceries come from, right? It's
yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got to thinking about that, and then when we were when I moved up throughout that crew there, we had the fortune of which that we could go into the Woodlands office, and I was with speaking with all the professionals there, like as we're cleaning up recycle and garbage and all that stuff, right? And you know, just seeing the devotion that these people had on all their plans and everything that they did, and just the collaboration of the office, and I was just hooked. Like, and
There's some real passion there. Like there's a real desire to make sure resources are managed effectively, and that the forest and environment is protected, and it's out there, and it's not being, you know, whatever people might think is going on out there. It's not happening.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. They're like, well, you know, they give you a truck and they give you a quad, and you get to learn the landscape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, holy cow, like, you know, you actually get paid for that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And I'm in the good fortune now that I'm up in Peace River working for the pulp mill up there at DMI, and you know, it's the same new story kind of thing, right? Like it's just a huge collaboration of people, professionals working together and trying to do the right thing on the land base. And you know, it's just haven't looked back since.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I think like people look at like, for example, like at NAIT or the university or something like that, people look at the word forestry, right? And they immediately just get turned off if they don't have any background in it, right? They just think, oh, whatever, a bunch of people looking for, you know, money hungry, you know, lumberjacks or whatever they are, right? That's the perception that I think a lot of the public has. And it's interesting to see when people, like, there's a few people that work here at Greenlink that are from the city, and they hadn't really no exposure to forestry and just tried it, and it turned out like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for, right? Something where I can be out taking care of the land that I love and making sure that it's managed correctly and properly, and we're protecting resources, and we're getting one of the most, you know, renewable resources on the planet. Yeah. And doing it correctly, right? So, yeah.
No, and you know, with you guys, you're in a niche business of inventory, right? And you guys are passionate on being sure that is the most accurate inventory that you can present to clients, right? Because the worst thing that you could have is, you know, garbage in, garbage out on a model, right? Like, you know, that doesn't solve anything. Yeah, it just
rolls downhill, and it accumulates, gets worse. Yeah. It's exponential bad.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's no, I think it's a great career. It's something of which that I think is very underrated.
It makes me wonder what would happen if you didn't have forest professionals in the landscape to manage this stuff, right? Because I mean, we'd still be using wood. Whether or not we'd be replanting, I don't know. Probably not, right? Because there'd be if it was just a free market situation, right? Like, I don't know if that long-term perspective would be preserved. Right? It would just be kind of like, oh, it's fine right now. Like, it's don't worry. Like, they're coming back. Like, it's fine. Like, it's so what? It was supposed to be spruce and it's aspen. It's whatever, right? Like, it's but it's Yeah, it's interesting how complicated it is and how much goes into it, and how much passion there is in this industry, right? Or in this profession, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's right. And it more or less it comes down to, like regulation pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. The fact of which that the fortune that I have right now working with the AAFMP, with CAPF and CAPFT, that is going to become the AAFMP. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here a little bit, but
let's explain the acronyms out.
No, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today.
This is awesome. I was looking forward to having you on for sure.
Yeah,
that's been a long time coming.
Yeah,
we've been talking about it since I started. I think you were like I said, you were the first person to email me from the the podcast email, right?
Yeah,
and I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is actually working out great. I haven't gotten a lot since then, but
yeah. Well, the thing is I definitely saw a good thing when I saw it coming, right? And the fact of which that I saw this podcast that was going to occur, and I'm like, holy cow, like, why hasn't anyone thought of this? I'm like, I'm so glad that Matt has thought of this.
I was happy I thought about it too.
And now you're on, I just finished episode 17, I think, right?
Yeah.
And,
with the ACA.
And I know you'll have nothing but great things that occur in the future with it.
Like, I hope so. I'm enjoying it so far. It's been great. It's been nonstop, just learning and getting people that know a lot on there, right? So it's things I would never have access to, or easy access to, right? So no, it's been good, even just from a selfish perspective.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
But no, the reason I was thinking of with the podcast is like, hey, like the fact of which that I'm the president of these associations or these colleges.
Yeah.
So I guess just an introductory level of what it is that there's CAPF, which is the College of Alberta Professional Foresters, and CAPFT, of Forest Technologists. And what we're going through right now is we're going through a collaboration between these two colleges to conjoin and create the AAFMP, which is the Association of Alberta Forest Management Professionals. With the creation of AAFMP, it's pretty much that of which that now it's fairly official. We've just gone through our third reading through the legislature. All we're waiting for now is royal assent, so a signature.
Right. And the AAFMP is a collaboration of those two colleges.
Yes. Yeah. Of the foresters and forest technologists. Yeah. And there's a long history on it. The foresters first started out back in 1985, and they
that's when the regulation happened.
No, they just they created this group just under the Societies Act.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah. And the forest technologists came in 1990 in the same aspect.
Gotcha.
So there's these two professional groups that started, and then in 2000 all the way through to 2002, where we got regulation on it that, it pretty much became official that it was in through legislation where there was mandatory registration, right? So if you went to school for forestry and you're practicing on public land base, you have to have registration with these two colleges.
Yeah.
It's something of which I believe is a huge, collaboration of regulation, I guess, being sure that people are accountable for the decisions that they make on the land base, right?
Yeah.
As we spoke to before, like, maybe the trees will grow, maybe they won't, kind of thing. Like, like people are actively making those decisions on the land base, and they're accountable for it, right? And that's what it's about. That's what the professional regulatory organizations are all about, right?
Yeah.
That self-governance, that self-regulation.
Yeah.
In that mindset, right?
Right. Well, like you related to like nursing, for example, right?
Yeah.
If you didn't have a regulatory body for nurses, they'd just be out there, screwing fingers to toes and just go, yeah, you're good. I'm a nurse. I promise I know what I'm doing, right? Like if there's nobody watching out for that profession, then anybody can call themselves a nurse or a doctor or a forester or a psychologist or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you don't know for sure what you're getting. So this way, that if you're in the province of Alberta, you have someone who says they're a forest technologist or a forester, that you're getting somebody that has been backed up by a certain amount of credentials.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Yeah. And you had the schooling for that. And then also the fact of which that you're continuing your schooling through continuing competence that we have. You have to have a certain amount of hours. I think it's 75 hours on the CAP-FT and 84 hours on the CAP-F.
And there's they're not exactly.
That'll be aligned, with legislation as it comes through into one association now.
Yeah.
So taking the best of either college and combining it into the one.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It needs to happen for sure.
Yeah. So it's streamlined, right?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of situations where they're doing the exact same jobs. Like, it's not like people think that it's not like BC where it might be a little bit more segregated, right? Like here, foresters and forest techs are, doing the same stuff a lot of the times, right? It's just a matter of experience and proving yourself. It's not a matter of credentials at that point, right? So, I think it's important that you have that organization to make sure that, like you said, we're having everything's on par, right? We're making sure that we have the right people doing the right things, and there's consequences for not doing the right things, but
no, for sure. And it applies to my day job, right? Where I'm on the land base. I work for a pulp mill. I implement harvest activities on public land. So that's always in the back of my mind. With the decisions that I make with any operational aspect of my job. With heavy equipment in the forest, you're making sure that your water crossings are proper. You're making sure that your access is proper. You're making sure that you're staying in the bounds of which you're legislated to be in, right?
Or even if it's sometimes it might even be beyond legislation, right? You might just be an obvious like ethical or moral understanding that like, no, I shouldn't do that thing, even though it's not technically illegal. I shouldn't do it. At least it goes beyond that too. Yeah. Because like sometimes the laws are still catching up. Right? I can't name a specific example, but just to point out that it's that's a point as well. Yeah.
No, that's right.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's pretty well a good gig, my day job, and then the fact of which that I'm now on council here and leading council through to this transition. It's really opened up my eyes.
I bet it's probably the most complicated time the colleges have been in, right? And you're just stepping into the fray here. It should be. I imagine it's interesting. Yeah.
It's pretty much. I was talking to my cousin there a few weeks ago, and she's like, "Well, what does that imply? What is it?" I'm like, "Well, kind of in short, it's a lot of problems that you didn't know existed beforehand. Yeah, and now you have to deal with it, right?"
Speaking to the colleges, like management of the colleges, you mean?
Yeah.
What is the colleges? What's the purpose? Right. Yeah.
And a lot of the issues of the day kind of thing that occur and concerns from membership and it's just always busy, always. I can't imagine. Always a lot of fun.
I can't even imagine the amount of work that goes into that. Definitely. Yeah. So just to back up just a little bit, I think I just want to talk about for you, why do you think like forest management is important as a whole? Like you talked about some of the background, or kind of when the management started to become more official, but it's a broad question, right? But I just mean forest management. Like for me, I think, like I said, if there weren't people out there with credentials that know what they're doing, managing and taking into account not just timber harvest, right? They're taking into account multitude of values and resources to make sure that the continuum of that forest is perpetuated. It's always there, right? So, I don't know. I was just curious if you had any kind of thoughts about forest management in general, because I think that's where the meat and potatoes is of regulating it, right? Yeah. We're trying to explain why it needs to be there, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I could see where you're going with it for sure. Yeah. So a good example that I can think of, with what I do is say block layout for one instance, right? You're not just looking at the trees. You're looking at all the values that are associated with those trees. Yeah. So you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking around, you're looking at operational constraints, you're looking at at water features. You're looking at wildlife features.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there any nests above in the trees?
Yeah.
You know, that of which, you know, you're creating buffers for,
Mm-hmm.
or what kind of classification is this stream?
Right.
That I have to create a buffer for, right?
Yeah.
And where's the best place to put these crossings in regards to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's both an art and a science, I would say.
Oh, big
you know,
time, for
going
sure.
out there and you know, it becomes one of those things that you go out to check one thing,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it becomes 10 things that you're checking,
Yeah.
you know, all and throughout this area, and
Yeah,
you get your exercise at the same time, right? While you're out there doing that stuff.
It opens up a bag of worms for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all I kind of wanted to point out, was that the regulation of this profession just makes sure that we can continue to do the right thing, and that somebody's looking over our shoulder to make sure that that's happening, right? And so it's not you know, the Wild West out there, right?
Yes.
I think that's a misconception people have, but
No, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just knowing that I do that, and having regulated members of both colleges that are out there, knowing that they're doing the same thing. It may not be in specific to the job that I do, but you know, they're making sure that they do their double checks, that they're being professional, that they have ethics, that, you know, in any decision or any action that they're doing to imply change on the land base, or decisions on the land base, that they're thinking about it very, very clearly.
Yeah.
On what can occur after the fact,
mm-hmm.
if they're going to make that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's move right along into like you were getting into details about the colleges already and their merger and everything that's going on there, right?
Yeah.
You talked about the background a little bit. I don't know if you want to get into that a little bit more, if you had anything else to add in there, but you said it's 1985 and then 1985, I think, and 1990. Things kind of started rolling.
Yeah.
And
so
then
in 85, it was the foresters that created the Alberta Registered Professional Foresters Association, right?
Mm.
And in 90, there was the what was it called there? The AFTA, the Alberta Forest Technologists Association. Right?
Yeah.
So you know, we have these associations that became colleges that are now going to become one association.
Right. Perfect. Just streamline everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's good.
So, you know, it was a decision that was fairly easy, right? Because the two colleges shared the same office.
Yeah.
And administratively, you know, just with everything, like your database for your membership and
mm-hmm.
your bylaws and your policies and all that, right? It's two separate, you know, entities right now, kind of thing, right? So to streamline it into one is just huge efficiency gains.
Yeah. No, for sure. I can't imagine the red tape to try and do that. It must be complicated, but I'm glad you're taking it on and not me. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I know we'll be busy here. We'll have a good Christmas break, but but after that, it's going to be foot to the floor there for sure on getting a lot of this stuff done.
So how far off are you guys from kind of tying the knot?
Well, that's something of which that we're going to meet with Alberta Labor here in the new year.
Oh, okay.
So we got a few meetings set with them. And then from those meetings, we're going to see where we sit on a proclamation date.
Mm-hmm.
So that proclamation date is going to be set in the fact of which that legislation will be key at that point,
mm-hmm.
and it'll be set and done. The two colleges will dissolve. And the AAF&P right now that's under the Societies Act will dissolve,
mm-hmm.
and it will become legislation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of work between regulations, policies, bylaws. We have to take, like I said, the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Collaborate it all together.
Yeah.
And work with the government in regards to that. And
so it's a long ways off still, probably.
Not so much. We're hoping for maybe summer. It could be fall.
Oh, really? So like 2018 sometime.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's really good then. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. That's like I said, a timeline that we're going to have to work with the government there and see what their thoughts are on it, and
mm-hmm.
In collaboration with that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what is it? I know I guess you're not new to it. You've been involved for quite a few years now, but
yeah.
Like day-to-day activities because there's only I guess basically let's start off with saying how many people are paid to be here and how many people are volunteers, right? Because the majority of the committees and stuff is all volunteer work. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So with the counselors that we have right now, there's definitely an influx of counselors. So so it's nice because there's a lot of help, because there's going to be a lot of
need
stuff
for
that
it.
we got to do, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much going to become absorbed when it becomes one council there. So it'll pretty much be in half.
Okay.
So the way that it sits right now with counselors, I think there's I'd have to look at the list there again, but I think there's 10 and 10.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So they'll pretty much have that, in which there'll be 10 again.
Okay.
And then
10 volunteers, you mean? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. On council. Yeah. And then we have our administration staff, in which right now we have 2 admin assistants, 2 registers, and then we just hired an executive director there.
Right.
So with the hire of the executive director, it's pretty much what we're trying to do is kind of solidify, these 2 colleges, to let them know that, to let our members know that, this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We need it to happen, and we need help. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things that foresters have always been kind of, I guess, complacent in the fact that, they're like, oh, well, I could do anything. Right.
Yeah.
I could do this. I could do that. We're kind of our worst enemy that way, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so general.
Yeah.
We're generalists in a lot of the work that we do, right?
For sure.
But
unless you get into research, really, like that's.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's niches and specialties in a lot of this stuff, but on the context of it all, it's fairly broad, right?
Yeah.
Until you find your niche.
Yeah.
And, with the executive director that we hired there, with her on the team there, she's got a very different skill set from forest professional, because I think she came from the AUMA, which is dealing with the municipal districts of all of Alberta, and working with the government.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
She deals with people.
Right. Yeah. She's
Yeah. And aids us through the political process.
She's everything I've heard about her has been nothing but good so far. So it's it's
phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
you need somebody out there that's like that's a go getter, right? Just getting stuff done left and right, and pointing people in the right direction, right? It's needed.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Is her job and her background is driving administration, and everything that goes with it, and it's kind of taken a lot of the load off of counselors, of which that used to aid in that administration, and kind of made it a true governance model kind of thing, right? Where we have these council meetings and we have all these great ideas, and we aim of which that we work with administration, we work with Wendy and staff to make these ideas come to life.
Yeah.
While keeping our day jobs kind of thing, right?
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot of free time given up. Like talking to people who have been on councils in the past, it sounds like you take this position, like you can't take it lightly, because there's a lot of stuff coming your way that you gotta, and it's good because the people that are doing it are committed to it, and they're doing it right, and they have a invested interest in it, as as we all should as forest professionals. So
no, that's right. And I've had a lot of support with my employer there, DMI, and allowing me to come to do this stuff, with travel and the time and all that good stuff. Like it's, I'm 5 hours north of the city here. Yeah. So when I come, I commit a day of travel, right? Because, it's there and back. It's 10 hours at least, right? Yep. So, time is precious that way. And the fact of which I'm able to come to the city and get that stuff done. It's huge kudos to them and to the rest of the employers of the province, right? That allow their employees to come and to aid in the future benefit of the profession.
Oh, yeah. Well, and even for continuing competence too, right? It's pretty standard practice for people to let people to go out on a couple days or something to improve their understanding, even if it's maybe not directly related to their exact work. Just having a broader perspective on the entire forest profession and the activities that are out there helps you better use your piece of the puzzle, right? So, I find the forest profession is pretty good at making sure that those types of things are being taken care of, right? Like making sure that the administrative stuff, the competency thing, right? Making sure that this profession will be around for a long time to make sure that our forests are taken care of, and we don't have to worry about it, right? So it's I think they're pretty good at the long term perspective. You look at a 200-year planning horizon for growing a forest, right? So I think we're used to thinking about that kind of stuff long term rather than short term gains. So yeah, I would agree with that statement for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, and it's like you said, it's good, right? Like a lot of our work, it becomes life work and beyond, right? We're making decisions of which we'll never see the full implications of what it's going to occur in the future, right? Because obviously there's going to be death. Like what's the average lifespan now? I think it's 75 or 80 or something like there. That, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to make it that long. But,
it's pretty good.
Yeah. But you're making the best decisions that you know of at the time.
Yeah,
and that'll carry forward.
Well, the science is constantly changing. Like we're constantly getting new. Like there's an entire research center here in Edmonton. Yeah. That hosts I don't know 100 or more researchers that are constantly doing like new science about just forests and environmental and climate change and all kinds of different stuff, right? And so it's we're constantly getting new data, new information, and changing our actions, our activities, right? So it's not a static thing. It's not like, oh well, this is a clear cut and we do clear cuts and like no, it's a clear cut. Just leave it alone. It's like, no, we do. There's millions, or not millions, but there's lots of different strategies of like harvest strategies or lots of different ways to make this happen. And it's constantly, it's a fluid industry in that sense. I think it's constantly making sure that we're doing the best available science. Right.
Yeah. So no. And it's one of those things that we have, a perfect research lab up in DMI's FMA there. We have, EMEND.
Yeah.
Which is the ecosystem management emulating natural disturbance.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's a 100-year study.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 20 years in now. I think it started in 98.
Yeah, something like that.
We have master's students and PhD students come from the U of A, to do all these measurements on variable retention harvest strategies that we did, right? Mm-hmm. And to constantly learn from that.
So variable retention, just for people who don't know, just real quick, it just means that we're using different amounts of residual trees are left on the landscape to try and we're just testing it out. We're seeing how things grow if you leave more or less trees on the landscape rather than having a clear cut or having strips, or you're having pockets, or you're having all kinds. So it's just different strategies for harvesting wood and leaving a smaller impact, right? So
yeah. And that's the best part about science is that it's always evolving, right? And and the research that's gained from that, I'm happy to help out in pretty much implement that on the land base.
For sure.
Yeah. It's huge.
It looks really good.
I really enjoy it.
Oh yeah, like I have a couple people coming on in the new year here, talk about EMEN, talk about cut blocks and the way we do things and the biodiversity that stands behind that, right? I mean, as far as the proof is in the pudding, right? Like so they're going to come on there and talk about a bunch of different stuff. I've got 2 different people coming on, so I'm looking forward to that because it'll kind of show to people that it's not this, devastated landscape after we've harvested, right? Like we have proof that these things are resilient and they come back almost immediately. So it's going to be interesting. That'll be in the new year. Things to come. Yeah. But yeah, EMEN. I didn't realize it was
out there.
What's that?
A little teaser out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I didn't realize it was 100-year. EMEN was a 100-year study. Actually, that's crazy. Yeah. So it's just in the beginning stages of it.
Yeah, they're looking at a full rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
For what it is. And I guess what I mean by rotation is the lifespan of a tree, right? So it's the full study of a lifespan of these trees that we harvest,
which is hard to get when you know what I mean. It takes more than our lifetime to get through that, right? Or at least our career's lifetime. It takes 2 or 3 career lifetimes to get through one generation, right? So no, it's I think it's pretty unique, is it not? The EMEN study in the world scale,
so.
Yeah. Like it's
gained a lot of international attention for sure. Yeah.
No, it's huge, and that's going on right in our backyard. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So like day-to-day activities with the college, I guess we're digressing here, going off on tangents, but that's typical, right?
Center.
Yeah, I guess I gotta keep us on target here. So So like day-to-day activities. So like the college itself, like what if what are some of the key roles that the college has as far as regulating the profession, right?
Yeah. So, a lot of that has to do with the management of the members that we have, right? So there's everything from the examination to continuing competence, in which we hold spring sessions, our AGM and tech session that we hold usually in the fall.
Just updating members,
in towards any changing legislation that occurs with the government, being sure that our members are fully informed in regards to what's occurring, and just bringing a collaboration of professionals together, in which, if there's any, like I said, evolving legislation that's going to occur, any changing or any policies, or, like this is what we're doing that's new.
Yeah.
Just kind of formalizing a coffee talk kind of thing.
For sure.
Right?
So what's like a continuing competency? How much of the college's role is managing or creating those opportunities for professionals?
Like I said, we
roughly,
we do our spring sessions, for a day, and we go throughout the province there. We started last year. Members were able to just go from their nearest town to these locations to learn on these discussion points that we get speakers on, right? So we get the researchers on there. We get people that work in the government that are dealing with these policy changes or these legislation changes, and we're trying to gain some aspect of just getting the person that's every day working out there. What's the latest technology that's occurring out there?
Helping them,
yeah.
No,
so.
for sure.
So
that's constantly changing this day and age. Constantly changing, right? Like you never know when a new app's going to come out that's going to help you do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's
I've said it before on some previous talks that I did. There was I remember when I first started, I was in Chetwynd in 2004, and you using that ortho photography, and then you have the stereoscope, those glasses there, and you're sitting there and you're looking up in the canopy, and you're staring through these glasses and onto a 3D with these two ortho images, right? Trying to create, where you think you are.
Works the same as like a 3D movie, right? Just two different perspectives with two different images overlaid on top of each other, and you can see 3D. And you're standing in the bush, looking at the bush that you're looking at on the imagery.
Yeah, trying to figure out where you are.
Where the hell you are?
Right? And to the day where it is now, where it's on your phone.
Yeah,
you pretty much just
load up Google Maps.
Google Maps or Venza Maps.
Yeah,
you just download what you have for a georeferenced map there on PDF, and you're able to see on a blue dock exactly where you are. And you have all these tools that you use, for, like I said there before, was water features and topography features and wildlife features, and it's information age.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day when Google Maps is or Google Earth or whatever is the resolution is fine enough that you can identify species types. Like I can kind of tell when I look at it, because that's what I do for that's my employment, right? But when I look at Google Maps, I'm like, I can get the gist of it, but it's for the most part, if it's a stand, it's just kind of dark. You can't really see what it is, right? It's not very detailed. But once you can start seeing actual tree level details, that's going to be awesome, because it's going to be you're going to know exactly where you are at any point in time. The detail will be phenomenal. Because right now the only way we can do that is we have to sit at the desk and look at digital imagery, right? So it's a little bit more. We can load that up, but the amount of data that's involved there is insane. So
and just the different types of aspects of the way that you look at it, right? With LiDAR. So LiDAR, I think you explained on previous podcasts there.
It's remote sensing.
And then even to the fact of which that you have leaf on photography, where everything's green and lush, and you have a picture of that, versus leaf off photography that you try to get it in the springtime when there's not so much snow. Try to get as zero snow as much.
As little amount of snow cover as possible, right?
And so that you're able to see through that canopy and see the ground features, right? So
that alone, I think, is changing inventories drastically, right? Just the amount how much more you can see. I think before with leaf on, you were missing arguably 40% of the forest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you didn't even know what was under that stuff. So it's
unless you went and you walked it, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's technology continues to blow my mind. I can't even pretend to imagine what it's going to be like. Like who could have guessed the internet was going to come around? Yeah. Like I think everyone, you know what I mean? Look at Back to the Future or something. Everyone thought we were going to have we were going to solve the energy crisis, right? We'd have hoverboards and flying cars and self-regulating homes that power themselves. And it's like, no, we didn't figure that one out. We figured out the communication one. It's a weirder one. It's a little bit. It's got darker corners.
and then just with satellites, with the equipment that we use with the bunchers for harvest, right? That we have it hooked up to satellites, and those guys use GPS. And before he used to have to go out there and see where the buncher was and where he's been and all that good stuff. And now I just pull it up on my office screen.
You can see where
I can see where he is and where he's been, and how much of a block that he has left to harvest and all that good stuff.
And do they have some of those new feller bunchers that are cutting down trees? They have a screen in there that shows block boundary and stuff, or
block boundary, water features, all sorts.
They have
of
all
stuff.
that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there's a lot of information for the buncher operator to digest. But once they become accustomed to it, it's a phenomenal piece of technology that's able to guide them.
It's huge. You probably have a lot less variation off of. I mean, like in the past, you have someone who in the past you'd lay out a cut block, you'd have ribbon going around it, and the feller buncher operators following the ribbon.
Yeah.
And if you have a piece of ribbon that got ripped down by a bear or dumped on by snow or something, and he misses it and he goes through the boundary, he could keep cutting until you know what I mean. It's happened, right? Yeah. So that probably slows down on those variances in
very
cut block
much so. Yeah,
design.
And it's one of those things that the buncher operator. He used to have to get out of his cabin. He used to have to walk and check and see where he was in the block, and doing your double checks that way, right, to be sure that he was where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now he could see where it is, and if there's a piece of ribbon missing or whichever, he's able to say, okay, well, I'm here with this certain amount of accuracy that tells me that I'm still in the block, so I'm safe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just a peace of mind, and it just probably makes it way more efficient too, right? You can see what's coming up probably, right? And kind of what's going to happen. So planning ahead, for sure.
Yeah.
Technology
helps with design.
Gotta love it.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. So we're talking about the colleges do continuing competency. You guys are doing all kinds of updates always for the members, making sure that we're on top of of the policy and understanding, ethical requirements and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As far as ensuring people are staying on tabs, like there's the continuing competency hours, right? Like we have foresters are supposed to have, I forget what it is, 84. It's a combination of things, but we do like for example, I got audited this year for my continuing competency, right? First time that ever happened. So that's, maybe we want to go into that a little bit, like how the college keeps tabs on its members to make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing, right? Kind of thing, right?
No, that's right. And it's one of those things to be a professional, is to keep proper paperwork. And for these hours that you're claiming on our database, there's we have a third party auditor comes in, nothing to do with the college. He's 100% unbiased when he comes into this situation, and he audits the members, and he sees all of the hours being claimed, of which that people are able to meet their 3-year 84 hours or 75 hours with the cap FT.
Yeah, it's a running total over 3 years, so it's constantly being exactly.
Yeah. So it's like you said, it's rolling, right? So it's something of which you have to keep your upkeep on, because if you fall behind, and you lag within a year or two, you got a lot of work ahead of you on the third year, right?
It happens. It happens sometimes, right? People they just kind of they forget about it for a second, or not for a second, for a year or two, and then all of a sudden it just kind of pops into their head and like, oh Jesus, they're starting to apply for every single wolf course and every
But these members have to submit their hours yearly, right? So the college is able to identify that a little bit, and the registers will give a heads up and call this member and say, might be procrastinating a little bit. You might want to up your hours, and so you don't get yourself in a pickle. And,
I'm hoping you just forgot to enter them into the database, and you actually have been doing them. Hopefully, that's preferable. Yeah.
So you have to keep a decent amount of evidence that you've been to these courses that you've been on, right? So there's a whole criteria of requirements that you need to keep for you, like say like a agenda to educational session that you went to, right? And you take that piece of paper and you'll photocopy it and scan it. You'll send it to this auditor, and if he's got questions in regards to any of your hours, and if it's satisfactory, he'll give you the thumbs up, and if not, then he'll ask for a little bit further information, right? And both colleges have been pretty pristine in regards to record and on that, and there hasn't been anyone that's been out of compliance with that. So
gotcha. That's good. Well, it's good to see that people are taking it seriously, for sure. Yeah. So has there ever any been like I know there's a complaints process and stuff, right? Like we don't need to go into the details of it, but I think we should. It's important to speak to that exists, that the complaint process exists, so that public members, if someone out there, say you're listening to the podcast right now and you have a concern about some kind of management that's being done, right? Something that has that, like a cup lock that happened or whatever it was, and just kind of they have a concern, so they approach the college, and like, how does that, you know what I mean? What do they do? So, So like we have a pretty good record in regards to that. With the 3 decades that that these colleges have existed, we've only had 6 complaints and filed against our profession, and only one was determined at this point to be valid. Right. 30 years, 6 complaints, only one was actually valid. That's pretty good.
No, it's a pretty good process. Much like engineers and accountants, our members are required to maintain their competence, and it's it's highly regulated. So it's a lot of people from this record, you could see that they hold true to their ethics. There is, so just so people know, there is if you have a concern about how management is being done on the landscape, you can always approach the college or even just the local company, whatever that company is. Don't be afraid to reach out to them, right? Because you can call, you'll be talking to someone like myself or Ryan, like, it's fine, it's gonna be fine. Right? If you get a grumpy old Grinch, like just ask to speak to somebody else. It's fine. No, that's right. No, and to be clear, we can only take action if a formal complaint is filed against a member, to failing to act professionally, and there's a formal process in place that's set out with the acts and regulations.
So there is for sure. So only one has ever actually been followed through with, as far as being a valid complaint. I think that's pretty good. We should be happy about that. Hopefully that means that the complaints are that there aren't any complaints, and not that the complaints are going unnoticed to the college. I imagine that's probably not the case. So it's good. That's awesome. No, definitely something to be proud of, for sure. That just goes to show that we're doing a good job out there, being ethical and making sure that those guidelines are being followed and all that stuff. So it's good stuff.
No,
awesome.
And I think it tributes to the continuing competence that we hold, and in keeping professionals up to date.
No, that's awesome. Well, it's interesting thinking about regulation. Like, I think a lot of professionals out there, not really a lot, but some people out there might be looking at the regulated body and the fees they got to pay and all this stuff that's happening, right? But it's like the regulatory body is the reason that you have the respect that you have, right? It's the reason that you have like a specific scope of practice, and only you can do this, and not some goofball that doesn't know what the heck's going on can claim your position, right? So I think it's easy to get tied up in what it costs and stuff like that to you know what I mean, for as fees to pay for a regulatory body, and people go, well, what the hell's the point? Like, why do we have this? Like, I throw my money at these guys every year. They give me shit for not having continuing competency hours, and then what happens? Nothing happens, right? And it's like, well, I think that's a statement in itself, saying that nothing happens because it hasn't needed to happen, right? Whereas I think some people look at it as, well, nothing's happened. Like, why we should just dissolve. Why is it here, right? And it's that's the wrong way to look at it, because that's probably why nothing's happened, because it is there, right? Yeah. Rather than the other way around.
And we've been delegated by the government to regulate a profession. We're a professional regulatory organization, much like say like pharmacists or dentists or doctors or whichever it be, right? And I think it's huge on the fact that that people have to abide by a code of ethics and act professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, professionalism, just, it's funny, the word professionalism, just on a side note. It's if people think professionalism and they think, you get your tie and your business suit and you got your, your clipboard and you're like, yes, I don't speak down. I don't make jokes. This is serious. This is serious business. Right. And it's like, that's not, luckily we have a professional organization that's not like that. Right. Like it's very, we're all people. We can talk plainly and be, we can be normal about it. Right. This isn't it's not intimidating is what I'm trying to say. This industry is, it's so welcoming and friendly, and it doesn't seem like there's any animosity really or out there, right? Between members and between professionals. It just seems it's one big community and everyone kind of knows everyone, and it's you know what I mean? It's an awesome community. I love it. It's just I think it's something to, I don't know what other organizations or other professions might be like, but if they're anything like this one, I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah. No, and it pretty much helps in supporting, having support groups with your peers and your colleagues.
Huge.
It's being sure that you're doing that, and also of which that it's to be president of these colleges. I'm not an old guy by any means, right? It's not an old guys club. As I think they said at the conference, there's no gray hair. I'll follow up in a year. If there's gray hair, but...
I've got gray hair. I'm younger than you are. It's a matter of genetics, that one, but we'll see. You look at Obama or Trump or any of those guys, you know what I mean? You get 4 years in office and they go from, nice black hair to, or not Trump obviously, but nice black hair to full head of gray in like no time, right? So hopefully you're not under that much stress. I guess you don't have any nuclear bombs to worry about, so that's good.
No, that's right, yeah. No threats in that category.
Yeah, luckily. Yeah, no kidding. That's not something I would sign up for.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But this, I guess, as far as like advocating for the profession, right? We discussed that a little bit. What's the college's role in that sense? Like, what is the purpose behind advocating for the profession, right? And how does that work? Some people might feel like, well, you have to stand up for my right to do this one particular thing, where it's not. I feel like that might not be the case, right? Yeah,
no, and it's a good point to bring up. We have to advocate very, very carefully. Mm-hmm. We advocate on behalf of the profession, mm-hmm. but that profession lies amongst, and we have regulated members amongst a whole variety of aspects of forestry that they work in, right? Mm-hmm. There's industry, there's government, there's special interest groups, there's academia, there's research, there's consultants. We
not just that, but I think there's biologists and stuff that take the exam and have the designation, I think, right? They have a different process they have to go through, but there's people of non forestry academia that get into this, right? That they have a different process, but like they have
to meet the criteria of the college,
right?
Yeah, but before they can write the test. But exactly. They do have those backgrounds,
right? For sure. Like there's a lot of biologists I know that work in the forest industry that are so you have to be advocating for them as well in some sense, right? So
yeah, and we can advocate on these certain venues here and there and everywhere, right? We have mm-hmm. We have to advocate as a whole, and it's not in our purview, I guess. That we can advocate for special interests or for special issues of the day, because that's not our role to fulfill. There's groups out there that fulfill that.
Well, that's role. A totally different focus. Could you imagine trying to, like, whatever the issue is, right? Like whether it's I don't know. There's a million different special interest groups out there, right? Like, well, like even caribou. Like caribou is a big one right now, right? So like it's not the role of the college to advocate and explain to people how to manage for caribou, because that's not your mandate. That's not your focus. You're not focused on that. You're focused on keeping the professionals able to make those decisions. It's the professionals' jobs to do that, not the college's job to advocate for caribou management. It's the college's job to advocate for the professions that can specialize and make those decisions, I guess, right? Like so it's like getting involved into specific issues is not the point. That's totally getting off topic, and you guys don't, that's not the purpose. So I think people get confused in that sense. They think that maybe, well, why didn't you stand up for me? Like I said this about that. And you're like, well, that's not the scope of what we do, right? We're not here to protect every little thing that somebody says or does or whatever, right? Like you're there to advocate for the profession as a whole and make sure that it maintains its respect in society, right? So
no, exactly. And the avocation, is being sure that the professional is up to date on their continuing competence, and like you said, with their respect, and just being sure that that in the decisions that they're going to make, that they're making them ethically and to the best of their knowledge.
Exactly.
At the time.
Yeah.
So, it may take into the form of working with government on changes to policy that impact the profession and providing the feedback to the membership.
Yeah.
But that's as far as it will go in that aspect.
Yeah. No, I just think that was important to point out, because I think some people might feel burned or something in some way or another because maybe the college didn't step in and do something, but not realizing that that's not the purpose of the college, right? They're misunderstanding what it's there for. And it's just something that we have to be clear on, that it's, that's a totally different issue. Yeah. It's totally separate. It's not, so.
Yeah, no, that's not our legislative mandate.
No, exactly. And you can't be expected to be the all-seeing eye of the forestry industry. And we're like, no, we know exactly what you need to do. It's like, these are extremely complicated issues. Like like, Jesus, I had 3 podcasts on caribou. I'm probably going to have another one, because I feel like it's not over yet. Like it's just, and to try and ask an organization of volunteers and a couple staff to make the final decision on this is like, you're out of your mind. Like, it's not going to work. So it's just a perspective issue, I guess. But these issues are so detailed and complicated. It requires a well-regulated professionals to sort that out and make that their mandate rather than it being the colleges. So anyways,
no, and I'm happy of the point of which that that these members are devoted to these issues at hand, right? And the fact of which that like people say, well, are you scared? I'm like, well, my answer would be no, is because there's
scared of what exactly?
Scared of any decisions that could be made that could
like ramifications change, right? Of something you did
that could imply a change, right?
Right.
In policy of the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I know that there's dedicated professionals out there that are looking at making the right changes.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, for sure. 100% there is. Yeah. No, I can stand up for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like we've done a pretty good job going over this stuff. This is awesome. Do you have is there any kind of big issues or concerns that you want to speak to? Just some final thoughts and anything you want to say, either as an individual forester or the president of the AAFMP. You can take this however you want. You can go off on a tangent for 30 minutes if you want, but yeah.
No, fair enough. No, it's just one of those things that I was happy that you brought me on the podcast here, and I was honored of which that I'm able to represent the membership in the whole of what it is, and work in the collaboration of conjoining CAPF and CAPFT.
Takes a special person to do that job, man. Like that's not a job that most people want, right? But I appreciate you doing that job. It takes a lot of work and dedication for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
No, and a lot of time amongst council, present and past, for for all the work that's been done up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the work is always going to be there. You know, it's something of which that, you know, I would hope that some of the membership listening, you know, if they're of interest, you know, to volunteer on the council, you know, please do. It's really, really rewarding. You get to work with a lot of great people. Mm-hmm. It's in a positive aspect that, you know, you're doing something for your profession. Yeah. You know, it's something of which that I didn't think I was going to take it on in the aspect of that I have mm-hmm. When I first started.
It seems daunting. You know, it seems daunting. I'm not going to
lie. And I have a very understanding wife with a 5 and a 2-year-old at home.
Yeah.
It's busy, but it's good. It's you know, something that I'll probably look back on it in a few years and I'll say, man, that was probably some of the best times of your life, kind of thing, in aiding in the profession that way.
I feel, myself personally, like when I'm at my happiest, especially when I look back on things, I'm at my happiest and most fulfilled when I'm busy and doing things. Yeah. I find like it's nice to relax and do whatever, right? But I mean, you have to have something out there that you're pursuing for yourself, and that's what this is for you, right? Like it's something that you believe in, and it's a project that you believe in, and you want to promote, and you want to make sure that it's around, right, and make sure it's done right, and that we're being advocated for, and that, you know what I mean, that the forest profession is maintained. And I think people get scared off by the idea of the red tape or the you know, the volunteer time and the cost of it, or travel or whatever, right? And that's fair enough. You got a family, you have but I think, like you said, once you get involved with it, you probably get addicted to it in a way, right? You get addicted mm-hmm. to the busyness and the go and like, listen to me talk about it. I'm not on council, but but I start a podcast, so I'm busy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have your own venture story.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe in the future, right? Like it's definitely something that I believe in, and I think it's necessary, and it needs to happen. And I applaud the people who do take on those roles, right? It definitely takes a special person for sure.
Yeah. No, I hope in a few years, like I said, is probably. The reflection I'll take on it is, you know, in November when it's -20 and I'm sitting in my tree stand, because that's when I do a lot of my reflection, waiting for.
Oh yeah.
For
try not to think about how cold your toes and fingers are, right? Yeah. Doesn't matter. You ever notice that? It doesn't matter how cold it is. You're sitting in a tree stand. If it's below zero, if it's 0 or -1 or -20, doesn't matter. It's just a matter of time. You could be bundled up in like the biggest snowpack bag and like everything. Just a matter of time before that cold just works its way in, right? You just always freeze. It's inevitable.
yeah, exactly. But no, I enjoy that though. It's probably my best reflection time is you know, in the forest and on the landscape, and just seeing the present time of what it is, and just taking true reflection of, you know, the past that's occurred, and, you know, maybe kind of thinking like what's going to happen in the future, and you know, but you know,
there's so much there's so much to view out there, right? Like you're literally sitting in nature. It has no idea you're there. You have moose and deer and woodpeckers and owls and everything's running around, and always squirrels. You can watch them, and they're you know, stuffing mushrooms up in a tree to dry them out for later. But yeah, no, I agree. I'm right there with you. And a tree stand is just, there's something about being there and being observing of nature while being a part of it, and really being able to see it at its truest, right?
Yeah. No, and it's very humbling to make a career of it too as well, right? Is that, you know, the decisions that you make on the land base, that there'll be, you know, that in the future for others to enjoy, for kids to enjoy, and everything in that aspect. It's, you know, it
really makes you appreciate it, for sure. Yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate what's out there and why we do the job that we do, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think people have this misconception where they think that, oh, it's just an industry. industry is industry. It's so easy to point at an industry like the industry, like they're the big black industry. They're doing bad things. They're always looking for money, and it's like, well, at the center of that industry is people, right? And they tend not to be evil, like for the most part, from my perspective, from what I know. I'm not in the military. I've never seen crazy stuff, but for the most part, they're just people, and we want to do the right thing. We want to advocate for the ethical and moral decisions.
Yes,
and I think it's easy for people to miss that and to think of an industry as a this big money hungry thing, and forget that at the center of it is people that are trying to make sure that they're keeping companies and stakeholders, or not stakeholder, or whatever, whatever. Keeping the people that do want money in line, making sure that we're doing the right things for the right reasons, right? So it's you don't have to worry about someone turning the forest into a parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks to this profession. It's and many others, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones. I'm positive about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and as I run into my old classmates here and there, and just within these AGMs that we have, or if I'm in a certain town, I'll call up an old classmate, and I'll just go over and have a coffee with them, or if I end up staying at their place, kind of thing, to save on a hotel or something like that, right?
Yeah, but, yeah.
All of them that I speak to, it's one of those things that we're in agreement that that we're really, really lucky that we chose the forestry profession, and just the people that are involved in it. It's phenomenal.
It is. I remember when I was first getting into university, I think it was my first or second year of school, and I was at this party with some people from junior forest wardens when I was younger, and I hadn't seen them in a long time, right? And I remember they were kind of hippie-ish in their attire back in the day and their beliefs, and I ran into them, and they asked me what I was doing, right? I said, "Oh, I'm in forestry," and they just a gasp, just like that industry is going down the drain, like it's not going to last, like you need to get out of there. And I'm just like, you guys
industry
are not even sunset industry. It's like, you guys aren't even paying a little bit of attention. I was like, so we get rid of forest industry, then what? Then what are you building with that's sustainable? Like, I did a podcast where we were talking about materials, like building materials, and that's just one aspect of forest resources. And it's super obvious and clear that is the only way to go forward if we want to be sustainable. Unless you want to kill off 90% of the population, then that's an even more sustainable way. But then you got to kill 90% of the people in the world, which is, I don't know, I'm not really an advocate for that.
I don't think many are.
There might be the odd person, I don't know, but I'm advocating for wood, and I think it's the only truly sustainable resource. And I say this all the time, almost every podcast I say this, only truly sustainable building resource we have on the planet, and to not use it, especially when the ramifications of using it are not bad, you know what I mean? Like, you're not doing damage to the landscape on the long term, or even in the short term, really. It's just a different activity, right? It just looks a little different than it did, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to come back to something lush and green like you see in the movies. So I just think it's important to point that out, that this profession is it's an awesome one. I'm a big fan.
No, exactly. And it's just like the boreal forest, it's ever changing. It's always something of which that like the forest changes with any disturbance that occurs, whether it be forest fires or the harvesting activities, or something of which that changes that land base. It implies through to the profession that the profession is ever changing, in the fact of which that we're always learning.
No, for sure. Constantly changing, constantly learning, always adapting. That's how we stay relevant.
Exactly. So if there's any students listening to the podcast, your learning isn't done when you're done school.
No, God, no. Not even your exams are done.
That's right.
You still got at least one more to write. No, that's funny. Anyways, this is awesome. Thanks for coming on, Ryan. This was perfect. I think kind of got through the gamut of regulation, why we regulate the college and forestry, and just kind of promoting the forest industry, right? It's been a little while since I've done just a straight up forest promotion podcast. I've been off on conservation for a little while. So, but yeah, thanks for a lot for coming on. This has been great. If anyone has any questions for you or for me, just yourforestpodcast@gmail.com, and we can get those questions answered. So, anything else to add?
No. I think that's pretty much it. One thing.
Okay.
We do have a gift for you.
For
allowing us to come to our studio here.
Awesome.
I know you mentioned of which in a couple podcasts there with your canvas paintings and all this, and just wanted to present you here.
That's awesome.
Just a second with just a photo that from the AFMP that you could add to your booth here.
Perfect.
And congratulations on just a successful podcast so far. It's great. I'm pretty good fan.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man. This is awesome.
It cuts down on the kilometers in the truck there for sure, that I'm able to listen to something other than radio, right? So
that was kind of the purpose, right? Was to bring something out there that is easily digestible and can bring value to people that are concerned about environmental sciences and that kind of stuff. So it's I'm looking forward to it. The next little while here, like next in the new year, I guess this will be the last one for 2017, but 2018 starting up again. And I got a lot of researchers coming on. We're gonna talk about, like, I don't know what I'll call it, the truth about cut blocks. No, I won't go that clickbaity, but maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see.
See where it goes.
We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling that day. But I've been loving it. It's been great. It's been really, really good. It was just kind of a epiphany one day. I'm like, I can definitely do that. That's not a problem. Let's do this. And it's been great. So just a picture of some trees and moon and beautiful sky, and it's a perfect addition. This will be awesome. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
You betcha. Well, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and everyone else has a Merry Christmas. And
and take care, and we'll see you guys in the new year.
Sounds good.
All right, take it easy.
Okay, thanks.